This is In the Dirt with ASOTU. Hanging out at MRC,
Still.
In the Dirt podcast, still hanging out here. So I don't know how many of these we've launched at this point, but we're hanging out with Kate Lumsden of Walser Automotive Group. What's your technical title now? I don't know these things.
I am the director of marketing now.
Okay.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
changed it a few times.
Also wizard,
in charge.
Expert coder, a little bit of graphic design, account management, Google Analytics master, the whole nine yards.
You said designer and coder in the same list. That is
Yes.
like graphic designer
Yes.
and coder. That is an
It's
unusual
actually
one.
where I technically have my degree and where I got my start, and then I kind of stuck in this business. Just you never get out of it, so you stay in it and you evolve, and that's kind of where I got my start.
So the first time I actually met Kate is I was at, cause she was at Maury's prior, and I think you knew this, right? And I walk in and I'm getting walked around kind of like meeting different people. And this is the first time that I had ever seen in a dealership or at a dealer group, a computer turned with its screen north and south, right?
Oh.
Okay, so track with me.
my
If
old office, yeah.
Right, and so normally like you go into the marketing department or anything like that, at least you got big screens.
You know you have a graphic designer when it's sideways.
But I was like, at some level, there's like Slack over here and development, and then you got Photoshop over here, and Kate's got the long like 20-inch screen turned north and south, which at that point you know you got someone serious on your hands.
They even knew that was possible.
Talk about a little bit of the evolution of like, hey, graphic design. Talk about the evolution of how you've moved through the marketing persona and now director of marketing over the
Sure.
in this large group.
Yeah, I kind of alluded to it. I mean, you're in this business a long time once you get into it. So I responded to an anonymous posting for a graphic designer fresh out of college, ended up Maury's Automotive Group. I spent 10 years there. So I learned the business, but I started in HTML, CSS, Photoshop, Illustrator, you name it, DreamWorks, doing email campaigns, website development, building all of these things, building the brand along the way. Paul, you were actually one of my sessions at DMSC a long time ago.
That's the first time I met you. I was
brand,
like,
yeah.
somebody is talking about brand. I remember
Yeah.
the question I asked
Yeah.
you. I was like, how do you charge all the stores for that?
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
Right?
Yeah.
That was
yeah.
my question. How do people actually pay for that if it's brand things?
Yeah. So I come from a very brand-centric way of doing things. And then through that, I learned the business really well. And I really love data. I operate in data, which is a really weird, I've come to find, relationship between being able to execute design, but also understanding how to measure it and its effectiveness. And that's kind of where I've found this path I've followed. So now I'm with Walser. I'm their director of marketing. I kind of came on as an analyst and moved up pretty quickly just due to my experience in the field. But Andrew, in particular, values data. So he lives in the numbers. So when you can marry marketing and the data,
You can get whatever you want.
yeah, it's
right?
it's great. So you have to be able to tell that story and tell it in a way that other people can follow along. That seems to be the hard part that a lot of people miss on.
Yeah.
You know, there are so few examples of what you do and that skill set. I mean, Kyle kind of goes that direction, maybe heavier on the data side, but still, like, I'm between two people now. It's an unusual thing to have an understanding for aesthetic. And then I'll say data because I'm a data guy, but I feel like now that you're both data people, I feel weird if I say data.
It's a
Data,
debate,
data.
yeah.
It's like if you're like, well, this
Someone
tomato,
keeps saying they're gonna
that
get us a
tomato,
shirt. Yeah,
this
right.
tomato, and I'm like, tomato. Right? It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So, how long have you been at Walser?
3 years last month.
And when did you become director of marketing?
A year and a half ago.
Okay.
Look at that.
What is so you've had a little bit of a runway, and now you're kind of setting the tone, setting the trajectory for the marketing strategy
Yeah.
and the execution. Heading into 2023, right? Inventory is loosening up on some brands, right? People are starting to get back into the water of spending more time and energy and effort in the marketing world,
Yeah.
right? Realizing we're gonna have to fight for these again, right? So what is your kind of impetus for 2023 for the group?
Oh man, we've got a couple of things in the works, some changes to our website, simplification, CTA cleanup, some of the things that a lot of people are doing. We're just trying to do it to another level. Honestly, I've spent the last year, just to look back really quick, I basically doubled the size of my team to support.
What's the size
Walser
now?
as an NC. I've got almost 20 on my team right now.
Let's
Half of those
go.
are analysts. Yeah, and I've got a design team, and I have a photo/video team. So to my comment earlier, I have a videographer for this.
Is there like an angel sound button we can press?
Well, look, I'm just so happy because so now Colton was the CMO and has kind of moved out and moved over to Fuse,
yeah.
and
Yep.
and you've kind of and I every time I talk to Colton, like back 2-3 years ago before you were in that role, I would be like, yo. The fact that you're trying to run at that point, I think it was like 28 stores before like Hello and a couple of stores. The fact that you're trying to do that with 8 people is nuts, right? I would always tell him that. And so I'm just super excited to hear that. And I know what can come out of that level. What have you gained out of all that?
That's a really interesting question. So the role, when I came on board at Walser, the role of an analyst was very task oriented. So send your email, post to Facebook, check all of these boxes based on what your GM is asking for. And we've basically flipped the script. They come to us to understand what they need month to month. So we've gotten very tactical with what we do. We understand on-the-ground inventory, incoming inventory, how many leads per day we're averaging, how to modify our budgets and move them throughout the month so we're playing in the game at the time. We're not just reporting the news. So we know I need to move more rogue, therefore I need to shift my budget because I'm only averaging so many leads per day and we have a 12-month rolling. Is that above my average? Is that below my average? What more do I need to do? We know the cost per lead. We know the adjustments we need to make to the budget to get there. So we can get really granular and they come to us to say, what works, what didn't work, what should I do versus the other way around because they don't understand it as
What
well
was
as
the
we do.
critical moment in that? Because we hear that all the time, that like we're just, as the marketing department, we're order takers, right? And oftentimes they're like, well, I kind of see other stuff, but we just do what they tell us. How did that script flip for you?
ROI. Like if I can pull the numbers and show you it works and show you the spend and how efficient it can be, try it my way. And then if it doesn't work, we'll adjust.
And you've just been able to prove it over time.
Yes, it's consistent reporting, consistent proving the support of the business, feeling you're part of the team. So I've aligned my analysts 1-to-1. So I have an analyst that supports all the Hyundai stores. So that OEM is there. They are part of that team. They have an inventory analyst that goes with that, who they are basically connected to the hip. My analysts know more about their inventory than their GMs sometimes. And
Dang.
that's not a knock about their GMs.
No, it's just saying
we're in
that's
it
what they're
every
paying
day.
But that
attention to.
that lets them keep in the business of the part that they need to be in, which is
Exactly.
the people or the training or the all of that. Because like Walser has a deep need for training because of the process and because of the way that everything. So yeah, I mean that is like keeping operations tight with marketing. I haven't talked to Kate. I'm just saying like we're gonna be here for like 25 minutes because I haven't talked to her in a couple of years. So it's super fun for me to hear that because we're just encouraging so many dealers. So what's a practical step that someone that maybe is whether it's a leader or a marketer trying to take the step to head that way, like they've been reactive and they want to be proactive. What's a practical step they could take in the next month, 60 days to move in that direction?
Ooh, that's a short time frame, but I think really understanding your landscape.
Wait, okay, hold on.
There you go. That's the answer.
That was it. Actually, I think you answered the question already. You were like, that's a short time frame. And I think that that's probably on me, but also like on the rest of our industry. It's like making that switch is not a short time frame.
Yeah, it takes time. You got to find the right people.
What is it? What is a practical time frame?
Ooh, I would give yourself 8 to 12 months at a minimum to really understand how it works. Because it's taken me that long to get to the point where when I first started and we moved from being task-based and like, okay, what are these other things we should be looking into in the form of SEO, optimizing SEM spend, understanding the model mix, understanding the lead mix, all of these things I had to train in order for the team to understand it. Then they can prove it. Then we can scale it. Like there's all these things that have to kind of take place. And along the way, I have to get leadership's buy-in. So in the form of Colton and Andrew, like I need them to understand it and understand the value. So once they saw an analyst take 5 minutes out of their day and find additional opportunity because they understood all the tools they had at their disposal in the form of Market Master, or all of these tools. And I'm not trying to endorse anyone, but like there's all these things, like you can see all the lost opportunity. So the second an analyst goes in and says, why aren't we doing this? Follow up with these customers or go after this. Andrew sees that and he's like, man, if they had the time to really dig deep, they can find us more opportunities. So then marketing, and this is coming from someone that I won't name him, but he always thought marketing was an expense. He flipped the script and said it was an investment.
Yeah.
So for someone to come that far and say, I need this person, and now they fight for their analysts. Like if I need to switch it up because I need to realign the team or we have a new hire or something, they fight to keep their analysts. That was never the case.
That's nuts. Oh man, we could go for a long time. Maybe we're gonna
We'll
have
do
to
it
get
again.
you on. We've got another podcast called Auto Collabs. That's when we'd like dig in for
A little
40
longer
minutes or
form.
whatever. But really excited to see what the Walser Group does over the next years and the things that you're talking about with the website and growing the team. I would say this: if you're listening to this podcast and you're not watching what's going on in the Walser organization, then you're doing it wrong. Like you should be watching and paying attention to what they're doing. It might not be right for you, but you might get an idea of what opportunity is out there. So Kate, thanks for hanging out with us.
Happy to. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching this episode of In the Dirt with ASOTU. If you're new to our channel, make sure and mash that like and subscribe button. Also, check out some of these links for our other great podcasts and content.